Hey everybody, it's Thomas. It's BBLoBB time. The season ended a little earlier this week. I've just been busy and haven't had a chance to get to this video. And there's some prep work involved with the season recap. These things are to be expected. Congratulations to Jessup, who pulled out another win. Congratulations to him for that. Chris came in second, obviously. Mark in third, and me in fourth. Game between myself and Mark. Mark and I didn't play. Game between me and Jessup was pretty much me getting really unlucky at some unfortunate moments, and Jessup not really having any bad luck at all. Some unfortunate things happened, like his War Dancer fell over and hurt itself. His fancy one fell over and hurt itself, which meant it got fired and rehired, which is unfortunate because you're losing a plus Agi Frenzy War Dancer. Never a good thing. Same thing that happened with Mark, though. Chris's dice just punched Mark right in the face. Playoff matchup is very, very good. All these games are recorded, by the way, and I'd recommend watching them. They'll be linked below, probably the best place to play. I'll try to remember to put annotations as well, but, you know, sometimes it doesn't happen. But yeah, the last game was great. Really good watch, lots of back and forth. But basically, Jessup got really, really lucky when he needed to, which, I mean, that's kind of the elf ball way, but I think Chris maybe could have played a little bit safer and secured the win, or secured a tie at least, which would allow him to secure the win based on the way he was removing pieces, but it was not to be. So what we're going to do for season recap here is we're going to kind of do some overall discussion, and then we're going to break down by teams. I think that seemed to work pretty well last time. So let's start off going to the window. So much spreadsheet. By the way, if you haven't watched one of these before for some reason, get ready for all the number talk in the world. We're going to be really talking about numbers here. So overall, some themes for the season. You can kind of see it here in, down here in our kind of averages section, where we're talking about any random team and then a specific game average. So I mean, a very profitable season for the most part. Pretty much everybody made a lot of money, as you can see. Pretty high scoring as well, all things considered. Fair amount of passing, 3 elf teams, not too surprising to see that. Not that many interceptions despite all that passing. Relatively okay number of tackles, slightly higher because you have more attempted dodges. Fair amount of KOs. Actually, this season, despite feeling very violent, wasn't that bad. We still had more than a skull a week, but it still is not that bad, all things considered. Phone deciding to reboot there. That's fun. Yeah, not a lot of deaths, honestly. Everybody killed at least one player. Chris happened to kill a lot of players and really tilted the average, so there's that. But yeah, I mean, not that much. Lots of ball moving this season. I think everybody really focused on scoring touchdowns a lot more, which is good. I mean, part of that is elf teams. But Chris and Mark definitely made a really big effort to score as much as possible, though Mark had mixed success with that, unfortunately. Yeah, some tackling here. Good amount of removal. Average of 3 players dead, which is good because that's pretty indicative. Yeah, I mean, just average treasury is 163k, so that gives you a sense of how much money everyone was walking around with. Relatively high team values. Like, this is the first season where everybody is pretty close. Zach less so. We'll look at that as you review his team, but overall, that's what it is. Yeah, let's look at some other stuff, shall we? Before we get too far into this. Boom. So we're going to look at some pictures here. They might be a little distorted because of the way, the size that Google exports its images, but not all you can do about that. So this is the casualty tower. We got a lot of casualties this season, but not as many as we had, I think. Total casualties this season was 177 of the remaining teams. We started with 8 teams, by the way, and we got cut down to 6. I'm not even including the 2 that are removed because meh. But yeah, pretty good size of casualties. Orcs making up the smallest portion of that, obviously. Elves making up a large chunk of it. And surprisingly, you know, Norse, despite having such low armor value, doesn't actually have that much casualties lost, all things considered. In fact, came in second for fewest casualties taken, which is pretty impressive considering how low their armor is. But I think there's just something to be said for KOs really sticking, or not having that many games or something there as well. Yeah, whatever. If we take a look here at this next one, who got hurt? Overall, it's mostly the Dark Elf team, which is really funny considering that they have 8 armor value. I'm right in there as well with 17.9. Yeah, I mean, the Wood Elf is making up almost 2/3 here of the pie. I guess I could do the math and find out for sure. 18, 76, 50, 40. So, okay, not even. Just a little more than half, I guess. Not 2/3. But still, Orcs obviously making up very few of the overall nerve injuries. I mean, that high armor value helps a lot. Norse making up a fair large chunk, but Mark actually ended up taking more of that. And that's what kind of is funny to me, is you'd expect the 2 7 armor value teams here, the Norse and the Wood Elf teams, to take more damage. But no, it was this 8 armor value group here. You know, we both the Elf teams have some players under 8. Dark Elf team actually has a fair number, which might explain this, but still, Mark gonna make a pretty big chunk of this, and all the guys are mostly 8, so that's interesting to me. Look at the old Skull Mountain, see how it grows. Yeah, for a long time, no deaths for Jessup, which is crazy. And then all of a sudden, boom. This is kind of a product of playing more hitting teams, but also just the 7 armor value starting to melt towards a lot more skills. Chris not having a ton of skulls fed, but as you can see, when goblins died, they died pretty hard. I mean, Chris mostly lost goblins except for the 1 black orc, which we'll get to a little bit here. Zach not actually having that many deaths as well. And most people actually didn't really have many deaths after week 14, it looks like, which is kind of funny. I don't really know what's so special about week 14, but suddenly death stopped. I mean, for me, death stopped at, or no, for Great, death stopped at week 9. My death stopped at week 14. Huh, I don't remember that. These are just skulls, I guess, as well. They don't count fired players, but that's interesting. I didn't really notice the kind of hard stop here. The exception, of course, is Chris's goblins, and Jessup's just players having kind of a bad time. That's kind of interesting there. Look at the skull share again here. Kind of a reversal of the previous chart. If we look here, yeah, you like that really sloppy arrow. If you look there, though, despite having so many casualties, Grey Duck actually doesn't have that many deaths to her team, which is interesting. Lots of injuries, but nothing too permanent here, all things considered. 15% right here. So yeah, Jessup making up 2 players worth of deaths. I mean, you know, we're looking at pretty small numbers here. Like this is a 6, right? So these are 3s. All these are 3s, and then Grey Duck has 2. So I mean, Grey Duck's not that much lower than all these guys. Well, it kind of looks like a 3. I didn't even mean to do that, but whatever. So, I mean, it makes sense, but still, surprising to see so many deaths on Jessup's side. I guess towards the end when he got hurt real bad. If we look at points, this is kind of an interesting graph to look at, because it kind of stands in for wins in a lot of ways, just because that's how points work. Obviously, there's some hard cutoffs here where people dropped off, like week 20 here is when playoffs started, so like this line here is playoffs, so you can see some teams just stay static. My team basically stayed static because I tied a lot and only won a little bit right at the end, which matters. Yeah, your top 4 teams are up here. Kind of interesting because you can make it into the playoffs without necessarily winning, being up here, right? In theory, you know, it's possible that you know, Grey Duck could have made it in. Zach almost made it in. I mean, 2 teams are not going to make it in regardless, but you don't have to win up here, you know, in these. Here, let's draw. So we don't have to win up through here to win here. This is just the cutoff point for playoff loss, right? So, I mean, like Mark didn't really win or tie anything after week 18, looks like, which is all he needed to make it in the playoffs. Yeah, kind of interesting. Chris just on a pretty solid trajectory. Jessup, really steep climb up there. Mark actually was doing really well here for a long time. Really huge lead, kind of mid-weeks here, which is kind of surprising. I guess that makes sense for the way Necro works, but even then, I think if Mark had been able to deal with the elf teams or gotten luckier with his elf team rolls, he probably would have done even better here. But this is like peak Necro period. And then the Jessup ascent continues. Dark Elf kind of remains there, but not too much. And where am I? I kind of do it, not really ever there. About third, kind of the whole way up. So that's funny. Yeah. Look at Treasury. This is included just for kind of interesting sake. You can kind of see some interesting trends here for where things bottom out. So right, everybody has these couple weeks of just doing lots of things. Some, people buy their apothecaries right away, so no one really has much of a treasury. You have some player purchases here, and then pretty much everybody, week 5 here, bought somebody, which I think is kind of funny, or at least had a big treasury spike. The exception, of course, would be Jessup, who just had a ton of money that week. But even then, the week after, week 6, he bought something. So there's a lot of purchasing right here. And then we see that kind of settle down right about here. We just bought some pieces. Zach bought some pieces. Where's my line here? Yeah, I bought some stuff week 9 here as well. Let's some slight purchases for everybody as we go here. Exceptions primarily being Wood Elves. Oh no, Wood Elves stayed pretty low. Just actually kind of the lowest overall average treasury for a long time. This is where he was not buying anything, but he wasn't buying any positionals here. And just kind of kept going. But Mark, once he got, a ghoul died here, so he'd replace it. But once then, money just kept coming in. And everybody made so much money this season that it didn't really affect too much. Chris kind of the same way, he had to buy a Goblin Uno. So money just kind of kept going up. Same for me, I didn't really have to buy anybody after a certain point, so my money kept going up. Zach did, so things went away. Jessup dumped a ton of money in the last couple games, so that's that. Grey Duck kind of had a weird, just kind of all over the place. Not tons of money, but enough money to keep going. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's something to be said for, these two graphs looked at together. Because obviously the more points you get, the more likely it is you're going to have a higher treasury, Jessup being the exception here. But yeah, two relatively cheap teams doing well will do this. Yeah, kind of interesting. 3 of the top 4 are here, and then Jessup is here. So money's not everything, but it does help quite a bit. Team value. This is also another good thing to look at in terms of this. You can see here, whereas week 5, everybody's team value kind of jumps up pretty dramatically. Right about here, team value here. So this is a calculation based on your current team value, so not necessarily your total team value. So for example, here when Mark had a bad time, he was missing both flesh columns. One died, one was just out. So that's why his team value is still low. And there's a couple other instances of that. Me here, week 11, when I had a really bad week. Week 15, same thing. You can kind of see some physical things there. Interestingly, though, again, Jessup has the highest team value here going to the playoffs, which I think is funny. And the reason why he doesn't have many, again, this is the current team value after the game played. So this drop here is from the number of players he lost. Interestingly, Mark and Grey Duck ending up about the same here. Or not Mark, Chris and Grey Duck ending up about the same. Mark is way down here, as is Zach. I mean, Zach's playing Norse, but also Zach just didn't have a great season until the very end, and even then it wasn't quite enough. But Mark's just never really got off the ground. He did well, because Mark is a pretty good player, but yeah, another good sign that, team value isn't everything, but it does help to have all these skills, but not necessarily everything, right? I mean, a strong, cheap team can still beat you up. If we looked at active players, this is another good one to look at with team value. You can kind of see what we're talking about here. Week 3 here, Mark has his real bad fun times. This is so interesting. Nobody really got above 13 except for Jessup for 1 week, at which point he's like, this is too many players, I've got too much bloat, and fired a lineman, which I think that was a mistake. I think he should have done that more often. But yeah, most people got to 13 and kind of stayed there. I mean, there's some peaks and valleys here, like with my team. Mark pretty much stays at 13 the whole time. Chris kind of hovered at 12 for the whole season. I don't think he stayed at 12 or lower. Only really down to 11. I guess he had a 10 here, where I think a goblin died and he hadn't rehired it yet. because he bought an apothecary, but is what it is. Yeah, this is the big period where Zach wasn't getting any money and wasn't hiring players to make up for it. I mean, and Norse Lyman are pretty good, so he doesn't really need to, but yeah, lowest hitting at that 9 right there. So this kind of goes back to what I was talking about before about how you have people with a fair amount of money, and then you also have just not that many casualties comparatively. And we had 2 fewer teams than we did the previous season, all told, but still. Average level, this is also interesting to look at in terms of team value. You can kind of see some correlations between these two. Obviously, this is, again, it'll still vary because it's based on the number of active, or this is based on raw players, but it'll still vary based on the number of players you have pretty significantly. So if we look at, who's a good example for this? Great X Dark Elf team. So we look at this line here. It stays pretty low the whole time, but it's still higher than Mark's team despite having what am I looking for here? I don't know. The point is that just because you have the higher level doesn't mean necessarily that you have more level 3 or level 4 pieces. It just means you have more pieces or less pieces. But again, average content here. So as you can see, Zach, having a bad time. Pretty whole thing. And this is kind of what I want to talk about. Look at our top teams here. We've got average level Woodell's being very, very high. This got brought down, obviously, by some lost players. You got Chris just cruising this whole time. A huge peak, by the way, right at week 10. And that's kind of just stayed. Pretty big advantage of pretty much everybody. Having only, again, 12 players will do that, though. But then you got me, the top 3 players here in this big around 3 bracket. I think, pretty much everybody's above 2.5 after week 17 here. This little band in here. Except this is Mark, who just kind of stayed at around 2-ish. And some of this is the zombies not really get anything, so they're going to be at level 1 for a while. But also, one of the flesh columns not leveling up at all, and just not really having more than 13 players. These things will definitely happen. Stats. The next 2 graphs are kind of boring. We should kind of look at them together because they're stats and doubles, but it's not really a pretty way to stack them. So stats, only 3 teams got plus stats. They are myself, who got many plus stats. I was up to 4 at the end here, which we'll look at here. Mark had 1, which did nice things for him, but, not that nice. And then Jessup had 1 for a game, and then it went away. So not the best. I guess it's 2 games because he had 19 and 20, but still not the best. Doubles. Holy crap, did Chris get a lot of doubles. 6 doubles on this team, and they just kind of kept coming the whole time. Up. Just absolutely nuts. That's crazy. To put this in perspective here, let's go to the window capture. Boop. Chris had an average of 3.61 doubles on his team. So this means that looking at his team week to week, he had at least an average of 3 players with doubles. Much like me, I had 1.5 players with stats, because both Chris and I got our bonuses early and got them often. Ooh, let's go away. Well, good thing we were done with the charts. Good thing we were done with the pictures, huh? Okay. So let's get into talking about teams here. And again, lots of number talk will be happening here. How do we want to do this? Let's go in alphabetical. That seems reasonable. We'll start with Grey Duck. So Grey Duck's team, missing some levels, so again, she might have some stats and doubles that are hidden here. But Grey Duck's team basically did okay. We kind of saw it in the graphs, and you can kind of see it if we look at her individual chart here. But things didn't go terribly for her. They just didn't go well. She never really got things off the ground. Did well defensively. Second best defense in the league. Elfed it up pretty okay. but really never got enough hits going. Some of this is playing against some other top flight hitting teams. Some of it's just not connecting well. Once her team got a lot of guard pieces, which if we take a look at the old team, you can see there are doubles all over the place here. We've got 1 guard, we've got 2 guard, we've got 3 guard. So really good use of doubles, all things considered. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the story for this team is just not quite there. Like I talked a lot about not having good luck at inopportune moments, but Great Duck really had some just kind of middling luck all season. I mean, you'd think the way sometimes this team worked is that she'd be sitting on maybe, I don't know, 3 agility more often than not. There's just, this team looks really good on paper. I just think it wasn't quite hitting it when it needed to, which is unfortunate. I mean, she almost made it to the playoffs. It was one of those things where she would have made the playoffs actually if her early performance had been better. Just was not the case here. Yeah, so I mean, I think Great Duck did pretty well, all things considered, but just wasn't quite enough at the end of the day. MVP, who did I award this to? Oh, that's not the right one. MVP I awarded to Larry. Good old Larry. Larry got the MVP for some pretty obvious reasons, I think. Larry's Witch Elf, has wrestle and sidestep. Larry scored 5 touchdowns, which is really good for an elf. Next closest player was Sam the Peanut Butter Maker, which, don't get me wrong, this piece did a lot of work for her. But you also have to look at these casualty KO numbers as well. And 5, 3, and 4. Pretty outstanding. I mean, some of this right gets shown up in SPP. So even though Sam has 32, Larry has 29, and also benefits from having 1 less MVP. So, impact-wise, pretty impressive, all things considered. If we look at some more stats for Great Duck's team, pretty average catching, 3rd best catching, passing. Interceptions don't really mean a lot. Everybody got that basically. Actually had the fewest KOs, and I was kind of surprised by this. I guess when she got hit, it was lots of casualties mostly. I mean, you can see that. 86 players lost. This is the 4th. I mean, that makes sense. The best elf in terms of players lost, but in terms of casualties, actually not that far behind. Not that far behind everybody else. Actually, no. Second. Well, whatever. The point is KOs didn't happen that much, but armor breaks definitely did. Yeah. Okay. Worst casualties received in the league. I don't know what I was thinking when I looked at that before. Which is pretty impressive. 2 deaths, so when she got hurt, it wasn't that big of a deal, but whatever. Averages 1 touchdown, 1.12 touchdowns per game. Average of 56K, which is pretty average. I mean, you can see here, compared to average, it's only 1K behind the average. Not too bad. Passing and catching well above that. Average is so low because it's skewed by these teams, but yeah. How many times was she tackled? I mean, her dodging actually was pretty unlucky. Really unlucky. I failed more dodges, but I also have more games. On an average, 3 failed dodges per game. That's kind of crazy to think about, all things considered. Other things that we can talk about for Great Duck's team, 103.9 average SPP. This is a number which I kind of think is interesting. You can see kind of where the team was SPP-wise over the course of a season. I think her total at the end was 216 SPP, so pretty good. Average level 1.82. This is the average level, which is kind of a weird thing to look like. If we end it, it's 2.5, which is not that bad, all things considered. Yeah, I mean, treasury is relatively low, but not that low. I mean, she's 2nd worst treasury, but dark elf pieces are expensive. These things are going to happen. Death trade, very effectively traded death. She killed half a person for every person that was killed, which is not too bad. Lowest percentage of casualties inflicted. Only 4% of casualties inflicted received were deaths. 30% third in terms of kills. 7.69% of her casualties result in kills. Average matches, this is kind of interesting to me. So despite, having a fair number of casualties, right, she has a pretty high number of pieces that were played for a long time. We can kind of see that if we look at the stats for these players. Everybody's in there for a pretty long time. Lots of 20s here. Again, Larry is still MVP. Larry just did so great. Wrestle, sidestep. So much karate. 2 SVP away from level 4. This piece did great work. Anything else? Nope. I think that's it for Dark Elves. Onward and upward. Who's next? People that aren't in there. Alright, we're in Zach. Zach. I think the numbers tell a pretty good story for what happened to Zach here. 6 touchdowns scored. 27 touchdowns scored against. Worst numbers in the league in terms of that. 950 winnings, so technically the lowest winnings. Those are, tied to not scoring a lot, not winning a lot, not a ton of passing. Very lot of catching, actually. It's kind of funny. Did okay on tackling pieces. Did okay on removing pieces. Third best removal in the game. Considering that he wasn't in as many games, it's relatively impressive. Some of this is the Glorious Yeti, which, holy crap, Squash. What a guy. Money blow, piling on, block. Yeah, Zach got 1 doubles all season, but it went on a very nice place to have doubles for sure. 15 casualties inflicted with this piece alone. That's pretty impressive. While we're looking at it, this is Zach's MVP because, yeah, just the sheer damage. And look how glorious this guy is. Come on, mighty blow, piling on, block, claw, frenzy. Absolutely fantastic. And just 15 casualties dealt. That's so huge. Yeah, no touchdowns, whatever. You can score that many touchdowns. That's fine. Some of these numbers are skewed, by the way, because of the way we did force ties, so don't pay attention to this column too much. I did for MVP awarding, but whatever. I don't care. But yeah, I think the biggest thing with Zach is his team just didn't really get off the ground ever. He has that, we could kind of get in the graphs we looked at, but the early season didn't go that well for him, and the late season didn't go any better. It got better for him, but everyone else was doing so much better at that point, it didn't really matter. Average wise, second best winnings in the league, pretty impressive. The ties really helped him. Lots of good tackling. Did not get tackled pretty much ever. His best tackle, not tackled. He didn't really dodge that much, so that's part of it. Well, then it's your average SP of 78.62 SVP. Look at that compared to our statistical average here, right? It's so much lower. It's not a good thing. Average level 1.51. Did okay in that, I think. Pieces definitely leveled up eventually. Yeah, this is the other thing. Less than load and players active, right? Just so much damage taken and not being able to rehire because his winnings weren't high enough early on. Yeah, which is kind of interesting. If you look at the players lost, he's the second best record in terms of players lost. He just didn't lose as many players to KOs and casualties, but boy howdy, when he did, he really got hit in terms of that. So yeah, still third there for lost for KOs there, so that's interesting. Other things with Norris, TV is just so much lower than these, right? It's 200 less for a lot of the big things. It's just, yeah, it's not close. Treasury, average treasury here is pretty low compared to everybody else's. So yeah, just really couldn't get a lot of things going. I think just not being comfortable with the team fully is part of that. That said, he did a great job in terms of casualties. Killed a third person for every person that died on his team. Received about 9% of his casualties as skulls, and dealt out 3% in return. Actually the lowest in the league, which is kind of surprising. Average matches here, 14.92. Kind of matches up with this number here. So not too surprising there. Just terrible ratio to be expected. We didn't really talk about this Grey Duck here. But just, wasn't able to get a lot of touchdowns for the yards he ran. And then, yeah. did a great job removing pieces when he could, though. And I think that's the biggest thing for why you may not have too many casualties, is when the Norse team works, it removes pieces left, right, and center. So, that would definitely explain it. So, I mean, you can kind of see it here with these relatively low numbers. Like, Zach definitely had things. I also think the other thing is he went really hard on tackle, which is good against all the elves. I know he's block, but, yeah, I don't know. It was not a great season for him. I think, again, lack of familiarity with the team definitely didn't help him early on. And then as we moved into later season, he just couldn't keep up. So, yeah, total record of 1-5-8 for the regular season. That's pretty disappointing for him, I'm sure. But, hey, Norse is not a forgiving team to play. It's a glass cannon team for a reason. All right. Who is up next here? You have to deal with me drinking water because I got to talk about numbers a lot here. But the person is me. Let's look at my team, my glorious team. Actually, let's look at Zach's team a little bit more. I didn't feel like I mean, there's not a lot to highlight, but still some good things here. Frenzy Guard, I think this could have been block, but whatever. Mighty Blow, again, could have been block. These werewolves stayed level 1 for a long time, though. Tackle on the Berserker is good. Tackle Guard here, I mean, this looks good for sure. Mighty Blow wouldn't beat that bad, but I mean, you can see he just got beat up when it came to it. Sure Hands Dodge, Parsec did great. Lots of good pieces here. We didn't really do this for Great Akatis. Let's take a quick peek there. Even though I have a format every year, I never remember it when I'm doing it until like the second or third team in here. Tackle Guard, Tackle Strip Ball, Dodge. This is an excellent piece here. Block Dodge, standard but good. Blodge Guard, good things. I mean, these blitzers were out of sight. Absolutely phenomenal. Did lots of work. Block and Leader, like this combination a lot. Kick Guard, Wrestle with a low movement piece. I mean, whatever. Zoot here. Wrestle with low agi is fine. Assassin, I don't know what this piece would have gotten here, but. And the Witch Elves, probably the marquee pieces on this team aside from Sam the Peanut Butter Maker, all things considered. Okay, now then, let's talk about my team. So I mean, my season, I think like looking at this team now, I can say I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. Like if I had to pick this team up again, I would be all about it. The matches I lost, I feel like the dice just weren't with me. And Mark and I mentioned that maybe in the future we'd do like a best of 3 sort of thing for the playoffs, but that's kind of hard to deal with. So I don't know. It's just a hard logistical thing to work with and stretch the playoffs out longer than need to be, and maybe that's okay. But yeah, I mean, I think the story of my team also was just I had a lot of pieces missed next game at inconvenient moments. Let's look at some numbers, shall we? Bam. My average number of players. Here we can see a couple way here. Average number of players that are active. I had 11.36 players, which, I mean, yes, it is more than Grey Duck has. It is more than Zach has, but I'm still bottom 3 here, and fairly below pretty much everybody, which is a little annoying. And also, I had 13 players, so it's not like I'm Chris running around with 12, where you lose a piece and suddenly, hey, you're down to 11. Average matches here, I don't understand how I have the third best here. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I think it's skewed by a few of my players. If we can take a look here. Yeah, like DeMalt has 21. A bunch of my linemen have 19. But like, look at my core here, right? I've got 17, 15, 13, 10, and 7 here. Actually, no, Trappist Logic has 20 as well. Maybe my pieces are more resilient than I thought they were, but I just felt like I was missing pieces at key moments constantly. I don't know. It was a weird season for that, I guess. While we're looking at this, we can talk about my MVP, which is Amber the World. So Amber the World's stats actually don't look that great compared to everybody else's, but they're pretty good. 6 touchdowns, 4 casualties, 1 KO, 4 passes as well. Like, those are pretty good numbers. If you look at, say, the other contender for my MVP, which who did I? Was it One More Stein or Harder, Better, Faster, Logger? I think it was Harder, Better, Faster, Logger. maybe. No, I think I said one more. I would say one more Stein. No MVP, all this work. 6 passes, 8 touchdowns. But I mean, if you look at this piece, like, yeah, it scored a lot of touchdowns, but that's kind of all it did. It threw the ball a little bit because of the 5 agility. It hit somebody once pretty hard. I mean, this piece did a lot of stuff for me. 6 touchdowns, 4 passes, 4 casualties. Good numbers. And then this combination here, the early plus agility gave me a lot of flexibility with Amber, and then I got leap and I got strip ball. Strip ball I wish I'd gotten a lot earlier, but I need the combination here. I think if anything I didn't target Amber for more SVP early on. If I'd done that, I would have had a combination. I would have had strip ball a lot earlier, which would have made a lot of my other matches really easier. So yeah, but I think this piece is definitely my most valuable player. It was provided the most threats as well. Just pulled a lot of focus off of the rest of my team as well. If we look at numbers here, second best touchdowns in the league. Hooray, Elf Ball. My defense, not that good this season, all things considered. Definitely could have been better. Winnings did okay. No, actually tied here. Thank you. Actually tied this, which surprises me that I marked this down. Oh my god. There we go. Okay. There. My numbers look pretty. I'm happy about that. So yeah, second best or third best winnings in the league, tied with Chris there. Passing, catching, second there. No interceptions really matters. Didn't tackle that many people. Didn't really hit that many people either. I have the worst removal in the game, and this is part of the way I played my Elf Ball. I didn't really go for a lot of contact against heavy hitting teams. When I did, I usually didn't break armor. Just how it is. Third best running, second best passing yardage. Yeah, pretty good on an average basis. 1.63 touchdowns per game. I feel pretty good about that number. Could be better, obviously, but I do still feel pretty good about that. Other stats. Second best passing still. 3 passes and catches a game, which is great. 55 yards run per game. We got the best average passes per game, so this means that my amount of passing overall was just longer. If you think about the number of passes thrown, like I threw 58 passes and I went this many yards, it means my length overall is going to be bigger. That's just how it goes. Third best in terms of not getting punched in the face on an average, which is weird because I was just talking about how I felt like I was always hemorrhaging players, but apparently other people hemorrhage slightly more players than me, which feels okay considering that I have 8 armor value. Third fewest deaths, good times there. On average. SVP, third best average SVP per overall, 134. Average level almost 2 overall. My ending average level was 3. Yeah, 3. So pretty good there. Feel pretty happy with that. Plus stats, we were talking about this 1.64, and you can kind of see it in the overview for my team. Agility, MA, and then agility. This thrower getting agility kind of doesn't matter because I got this at the end of my the end of the season when it doesn't really matter, but still, that's kind of crazy to have that many plus agility pieces. And again, part of the reason why I'd be totally happy with picking this team up again. It looks real good, honestly. Other things, third highest TV, not to be too surprising with the amount of SCP I have here, and third best over average treasury, 150. I didn't have to rebuy that many expensive pieces, which is good. I feel like I didn't really have to rebuy anybody. All things considered, I pretty much replaced my linemen with catchers, and that was it. In terms of kills of the casualties I did deal, 7.69% of my deaths received were deaths, so that's pretty good. Or deaths received were deaths, and so of my casualties received were deaths. Just didn't really have my DCs die, and yeah. Casualties dealt, not that good, but okay. Average matches, again, apparently very resilient. My ratio is second best, not too surprising considering that I came in second for touchdowns. This is pretty good. Basically, this is my overall high level of touchdowns overcoming my not that great defense. Running, passing. This is, we talked about this a little bit with Grey Duck, but this is basically how even you were in terms of what you can do to move the ball around. 2.35, so I was very good at moving the ball and then running the ball a little bit. Very efficient with my number of yards run because of that. So, I mean, this column again is how easy it is for you to just move the ball forward. Lower numbers mean you don't have a good chance of that. Higher numbers mean you can move the ball pretty effectively. I use run distance because passing isn't counted there, so you can just chuck the ball and then run a little bit. Like, it's going to reduce your overall number of yards you need to run, and that makes it easy. Casualties. I didn't do very many casualties, so when I took casualties, they mattered. I did better than Grey Duck, which surprised me, but yeah. So yeah. Quick perusal of the team. This little bit, blodge, sidestep, really boring, really standard, but hey, it's good for a reason. Leap, strip ball, plus agility. This piece was absolutely great. Plus agility, dodge, block. So good. Just so good. Really, really great. A 9 MA catcher. Take that, stupid gutter runners, with dodge, catch, and block. So pretty good piece there as well. All these catchers did pretty well. Russell sidestep. Maybe could have gotten dodge in this piece, but I feel okay with the sidestep. Sidestep was really useful when it was needed. Just wrestle in this piece. Even if you could have targeted this piece more, but just ran out of time. Just know about Digital Love, I think I also had for the lowest amount of time. Yeah, only 10 games, so I don't feel too bad about that. What else we got? Trappist Logic, my super thrower, 5 million. 17 passes, no MVPs. So this isn't as good as Jessup's thrower in terms of doing that, but still feels pretty good about that. Accurate block, I think that's a good combination with the 7 armor bellies walking around. And this thrower just got plus agi, which makes so many things easier. It's kind of crazy. Crescent Dunkel. This piece I almost fired. I'm glad I kept, though, because the guard was really useful. Just goes to show how useful Strength Axis could be on an elf team if you ever got it. It's just, guard is too good for elves to pass up. It's just ridiculous. Kick Wrestle, my favorite defensive combination. Lots of minus MA, which is kind of unfortunate on my team. It hurt a little bit, but all these pieces are so fast, it worked out. Something to Stout Us, dodge, wrestle, sidestep. Awesome combination for a lineman. This piece almost wasn't worth putting on the line, but everybody else was more valuable, so whatever. The Pilsner Club just got dodge, sidestep here on Porter Heroes to help deal with movement, and also everybody had tackle by the time this piece leveled up, so pretty good. Yeah, I mean, the story for my team is just getting unlucky at bad moments, I guess. I don't know. I had a good season. I came in 4th, basically. That's fine. It was nice to play a real team. How about that? Up next, our champion, Jessup. Layla's pretty excited about that. So there's big gaping holes where Jessup's players used to be, which is caused by getting murdered in the finals pretty aggressively. Let's take a look at his stats. Jessup played a ridiculous season. Most touchdowns scored, most number of passes, an interception by a tree in there, 2nd place in winnings, which makes sense considering how often he won. But on top of that, Jessup has the 3rd best tackles. Some people dodged away, they fell over quite a bit. 2nd highest KOs, 2nd highest casualties. Like, he beat a Necromantic team and a Norse team on both of those categories. 4 kills. Ridiculous. Double the next closest competitor. 98 players removed total. Unbelievable. And a whole load of crap. Jessup's luck this season was ridiculous. Not only was he one of the best just ball moving teams because it's Wood Elves, but also just insane amount of armor breaking luck. Nobody could stand up to the luck protection. I don't know. It was crazy. Look at this. This is the other part that drives me crazy. Elf teams obviously are going to be the winners or the losers here for the tackled category because they dodge the most. But Jessup has 24 failed dodges all season. All season, 22 games, 24 failed dodges. That's just, it drives me crazy how lucky he is with that. Oh, man. I mean, it's not a quarter or a third of my failed dodges, but it's up there. Grey Duck, he's got half the failed dodges of Grey Duck. And these things add up pretty quickly. Every time you fail Every time you fail a dodge, ends your turn, bad things happen. He did get hit, though. He did get hit pretty hard. Most players lost, and part of this is 7 armor value in higher TV Blood Bowl. These things will definitely happen. He lost a bunch of players late in the season too. So, I mean, his last matchup, if we take a look here, the last match he played against Chris, 3 casualties sustained, 7 KOs sustained, 2 deaths sustained. Like, that's a lot. Against me, not that many. Or against me, still 3 KOs, 2 casualties. Like, these things add up relatively quickly with such a team. Looking onwards to the rest of the stuff, though. Shasha. Yeah. At an average, best touchdown still, no question. Best passing. Just real good numbers posted up. Once you get in the averages, on average, his casualties fall down a little bit compared to, say, Zach's, but this is a game difference, I think, more than anything else. I think it's ridiculous. The statistics never caught up with Jessup, I think, is basically what happened here. Barely behind me in passing as well. It's weird. I guess this is the other thing to look at, too, right? Like, casualty sustained, yes, he is the second worst in terms of casualty sustained. He's the worst KOs by a lot more, though. I think the KOs were more of a factor for him. Like, our values breaking would hit a lot of 8s and 9s against Jessup, but rarely would they hit that full-on 10. He tied for me in this department, but I have 8 armor value, and he has 7 armor value. Like, what? Yeah. Oh, it was crazy watching him all season. It was just nuts. Average of 5 players lost a game, and he still did so well. I mean, part of this is Wood Elves are a really good team. Hands down, fantastic team. And Jessup played very well against much slower opponents, but also just the insane amount of luck this team was working on was crazy this season. When you're really lucky and you're playing pretty well, good things happen to you. Total CP average is 154. Lots of SP on this team. Just a ton. Average level above 2. You got to think about this, too. This is over the entire season. Everybody starts at level 1. So lots and lots of things went for him. Stats, he's on there because he was one of the few teams that got there, but it barely reflective. He had his doubles players for a long time, too. Average of 1.78 doubles players, 11.83 active players. Which, considering he peaked up to 14, kind of matches up with these other numbers, but still a little crazy. Highest TV at 1,544. Good amount of money. Not bad. Not great. In terms of trading, very efficient trading. The equivalent number of players removed for lost, as Mark did, right? And it's a Necro team versus a Wood Elf team. One of these teams has strength access. In terms of casualties received, almost to that 16% that you expect to see for deaths when you get the injury roll down. In terms of casualties, 10% of his casualties dealt were kills. That's cool. Average match is 16. Tied for great up here. It's not great, not bad, whatever. Obviously, very high offense versus defense thing. It's hard to, it's hard to not have that with that many touchdowns. Running, passing, just like me, very efficient at moving the ball long distances very quickly. With passing, second best amount of effort for that. And yeah, just I guess trade here is kills. I should mention that. 0.9 players removed, or for every player that was removed off his team, and that's, I think, a really good way to look at this, right? So just removing almost an equal number of players that he took out. But Jessup lost a ton of players, right? On an average game, Jessup is losing 5 players, 5.25 players. That means he's, 90% of that. It's 10%. So, he's removing 4-ish players a game on top of that, which is crazy. Yeah, here it is. Almost 5 players. Yeah, an average of 4.9 players removed for every game. That's so much. That's ridiculous. He beat out a Norse team and a Necro team. I cannot. It diced. Let's talk about MVP here, and look at Jessup's crazy. What's left of Jessup's crazy team? Treeman did fun things. Got guard early, which is all I really needed. An interception and MVP. Got most of that, and then 5 casualties. So a fair number, but not that much. The tree, I think, was basically a waste, unfortunately, in terms of statistics. Tree is most fun, for sure. Tree is, like, hilarious and a great piece. But in terms of utility, I feel like it was a huge mistake. It should have been a war dancer from the beginning, probably. That's even the crazier part, right? Jessup made so many team-building mistakes that I think were huge that didn't turn out to be a problem for him, which is great. It's just so great. But yeah, guard, multi-block, these are perfectly good things for a tree that didn't roll doubles. Thrower, I mentioned this briefly when I talked about my thrower, but this guy chucked a lot. 29 passes alone, right? And then some touchdowns, and then a casualty in there. Like, this guy threw constantly. Unless it was just like farming passes, but also, just getting the ball downfield. Accurate dodge, leader, block. This is a, like, almost too good thrower at this point. Not that far away from leveling up either, which is even more ridiculous. Momo, the war dancer, Mighty Blow, strip ball, very good combination. Strip ball means you want to blitz pieces a lot. Mighty Blow helps incentivize this blitzing because it means that when you hit somebody, which you will be doing to blitz them, you have a really good chance of taking them out outright. Strip ball is great, but if you can also remove them, A+, fun times. Maybe, I don't know, I was going to say good tackle, but strip ball is just so good. In a league with very few sure hands players. Tofei Fong, this was originally A+ Agi Frenzy Blitzer, War Dancer, whatever. Biddy here, the catcher, that went nuts. What makes me laugh the most about this is Jessup rolled a doubles, right? This Mighty Blow here. But he rolled it off of strength, and it could have been a plus strength, but he accidentally clicked on Mighty Blow. Which is funny, but it kind of worked out, actually. This team had a lot of Mighty Blow going for it, right? We've got one here, and one here. That's a fair amount of hitting power, which kind of explains the casualties remove, but still, he didn't have that all the time. Excuse me. Yeah, this piece is great. Leap, block, Mighty Blow, Dauntless, and it is Jessup's MVP. You can kind of see, based on the game impact, how huge this is. I almost gave it to Dog, but when you look at the numbers here, like, yes, Dog threw a lot and has another MVP, but 13 touchdowns. Come on. There's not a lot of debate here. Like, this was, of the pieces left, this was like Jessup's big scoring thing. And I think, if anything, he overscored with this piece, but hey, it worked out. I can't blame him. Leap, block, Mighty Blow, Dauntless. This is a very scary piece. Mighty Blow, Dauntless, kind of a necessary combination at that point. Got some passes in there too. Like, this piece did work. 1 casualty, 3 KOs, so you could argue that the Mighty Blow didn't do a ton. And obviously, if you're not going to take strength, guard would be better. But hey, this piece did great. I can't complain. This Justice MVP for a very good reason. That reason being, it's a ridiculous garbage thing. God, this guy's just so good. Just so good. He did great. Can't even be mad about it. Other catcher, we got sidestep block with dodge is a very good combination. Agley Hero's kick wrestle, which we've already discussed, is a great combination. Guard block, really good. Dodge wrestle. Seeing it dirty player. Stompy the Bear just started off being in the I don't want to foul category, but definitely moved into the like to foul things category. This piece operating pretty much solely on MVPs and passes, and some casualties, I guess. This piece did okay. I don't know. Wow, actually lots of hits, considering this piece is mostly designed to stomp on things. Highest KOs on the team. Weird, I guess. Because this shouldn't count fouls, I think. I don't think it does. I don't know. Either way. All hail the 110 fouling lineman. Right on. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Jessup's season was ridiculous. There's sometimes you have a really good season, and this was Jessup's, I guess. Just absolutely nuts. That should just leave us with 2 more. So we got Mark and Chris here. Mark's team. Let's talk about Oscar here. um, before we get into anything else, I think this is kind of indicative of Mark's overall season. Mark lost Oscar the first very early on, and Oscar the second never did anything. No MVPs, nothing. He KO'd some people. He knocked some people over sometimes, but that was it. He couldn't break armor. He couldn't do anything. It was weird how nothing would go on this piece. That's kind of what happened with Mark's season. Like, he did well. He did really well. But, like, yeah, you can just look at his chart. Like, he did pretty well. All things. We saw him on the points thing as well. Like, he didn't do bad. Bam. Points. Yeah. I mean, you can see there's lots of wins here. A couple losses, sure. But mostly ties, if anything. But when it counted, it just didn't work out. And that's kind of the thing. Like, let's look at his casualties. Like, 30 casualties is a lot. It's not that much fewer than this team. But it's a Norse team. It's going to hit hard. It's got all these strength frenzy things. I don't know. I think Jessup took all of Mark's casualty power. That's the only thing I can think of. He KO'd a lot of people, which is probably extremely frustrating, but I don't know. Just things didn't quite click. The one thing that did click, though, was Mark's ability to win money and defend. Mark defends extremely well. Did great. Mostly kept his, like, you're giving up almost one, less, not less than one. That's Jessup territory, but, 1.22 touchdowns per game. That's pretty good. I think. Defended very well. Tied for Chris for that. 20 touchdowns in there. Not great. Whatever. I mean, very low scoring games with a slow Necro team. Tackled a lot of people. Killed a lot of people. Killed 2 people. One of those my guys. Thanks, Mark. 73 people removed. But he tied with Zach's Norse team. And, like, Zach had a Claw, Frenzy, Mighty Blow, Block Yeti going for him. Didn't get tackled. Didn't dodge very much, if that makes sense. Didn't get KO'd very much. Didn't lose a lot of players. All good, I mean, 3 dead. A little unfortunate, but hey, that's okay. Averages, we already talked about this. But, so this is the crazy part, right? We had some people drop out, so you have some forced wins. But we have an average of 71,000 a game. That's so much money, Let's look at his average treasury. You can kind of see this somewhere. Yeah. Average treasury of 304,000. That's ridiculous. Mark ended the season with, where's our number? 810. That's almost starting money. That's with rebuying a flesh golem and a ghoul. And buying 2 ghouls. Like, Mark had a ton of money going for him, but he never needed it, which is unfortunate. Nothing really changes in the averages for Mark too much, I think. If anything, I mean, it looks worse. His average KOs goes down really bad. Just, for a team that needs to hit to win, it did not hit. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, when Mark could remove pieces, he did just fine. But, it's because you have so much speed from the wolves and the ghouls, and even the whites to some degree, and you have slow pieces to tie everything up. If you can remove a couple pieces to equalize your strength problems, you're great. But if you can't do that, you have a bad time. That's kind of what happened with Mark's team. 119 SVP, really low average SVP. Average level 1.82. Did have a stats player, which we'll look at when we look at the team. 0.36 doubles. Had the most active players. Regeneration's a good skill. He only lost 85 players. Of course, he's average removal of 4.74, pretty good. Especially because he had like 8 armor value everywhere, like compared to the other 8 armor value teams. Mark made a lot of money. That's about it. Unfortunately, he played well, obviously, because it's Mark, but not great. Pretty good casualty percentages. Average matches very high. Which makes sense considering for active players he had. defended very well, almost a 1-for-1, which is awesome. Mark has our worst run-to-pass ratio. Mark did not pass very often at all. You can kind of see that up here. Up where? Up here. 3 passes. Pretty good. He just doesn't need to, and why would he bother? Yeah. Pretty good at moving the ball, though, all things considered. Did better than Dark Elves, which is funny. And yeah, like, so it's a pretty good ratio in terms of players removed, but it's worse than a Wood Elf team. That's unfortunate. And you can kind of see here, MVP. Let's jump back into it. Jumped on Mark's team. Let's get in there. It's Famous Nathan. Famous Nathan deserves this for a lot of reasons. We're already there, but aside from looking great, just beautiful. Aside from that, block, tackle, mighty blow, dauntless. The dauntless is kind of like, well, what else am I going to get sort of skill? And I think he needed this against Chris, but didn't really do a lot of good because that game was a mess anyway. But block, tackle, mighty blow, really good combination. But if we look at what happened with Famous Nathan, 7 touchdowns, the most touchdowns of the entire bench. On top of that, we have 6 casualties. I mean, Otto hit more people and scored a fair number of touchdowns, but not that many. I think Famous Nathan just overall, I mean, the Werewolves are going to be the star players in this team no matter what you do. They're just so good. Claw Frenzy. 8 MA, I mean, they're going to do a lot of good things for you. So, congratulations, Famous Nathan. If we look at the other pieces of here, Auto Sausage, nothing. Level 1 zombie, level 1 zombie. We'll skip them. Famous really got plus strength. This piece had gotten this earlier, it maybe would have done more. It definitely did a lot for him when he was there. So good news for Mark. Wrestle on a zombie. Mutton had that pretty early. Old Hickory died and became Older Hickory. Also got Wrestle. These things happen. And some of this, like, you don't want SVP on your zombies, really. You want them on these pieces. Like, if his ghouls have been level 3 or 4, his whites have been level 4, if these flesh columns have both been 3, like, different team altogether. And things get better. Both these ghouls have Wrestle, which I like. Whites both have Guard, Mighty Blow. This one has Tackle, because why wouldn't you get Tackle? Whites are great on this team. Did a lot of work. Should mention, too, Otto was in every single game and just did a ton of work. Worth mentioning that. Obviously, the second we've already heard about, world's biggest disappointment. Meyer did actually, did pretty good. Block guard, good combination. Minus AV against Chris early on, hurt, but Beast did pretty well, all things considered. Was still in 20 games, so good times there. And then again, the world was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Mark's team and my team have a lot of similarities. Like, they're good teams, but they needed a little bit more. And they need to get a little bit luckier when they didn't. And that's what happens. And our last team, our second place finisher, is Chris. Chris had a really good season. You can see that by these numbers. Let's take a look at some more numbers for Chris. 28 touchdowns, 22 touchdowns given up. Very good in terms of defense. Low number of touchdowns, actually, but better than an elf team. Not too bad. Fair amount of money as well. When you win a lot, these things will happen. Passed a ton. For a 3 agility team, Chris threw the ball quite a bit. And just to farm, pretty much, right? You can see the passing yards. I mean, it's high because he threw a lot, but it's a relatively low number. 12 yards of passing over the course of a game. Whatever. 6 squares. He just threw a lot. He did get an interception, which is cool. Tackled a ton of people as people fled the Orc Horde. Yeah, I mean, Chris owned the punching territory. 68 players KO'd, 51 players just red crossed, 8 players murdered. Some of this is obviously bloat from Jessup, but that's still 6 kills on top of before that. So yeah, 119 players removed, just out of the charts in terms of overall removal. Ran very far, which makes sense considering the number of touchdowns he has. Didn't get tackled very often. Didn't dodge very often. Why would he need to? Did not take many casualties. Did not, therefore, lose many players. 52 players KO'd actually is pretty surprising. This is second worst number of KOs right behind Jessup. So kind of interesting there. 3 other players, nothing new there. Actually, on average, Chris had the second best defense, beating out Greyduk there, which is cool. Played more games. Makes sense. On average, yeah, nothing really changes too much for this team. Yards run looks a little bit worse, I guess. I guess actually in terms of KOs, he did better there. But yeah, not too much to talk about for the Chris team. 160 SVP, an average level of 2.22, just a ton of people. And then this number, 3.61 doubles. Oh my god, Chris got all of the doubles rolls. Like, I got all the stats rolls, and that's ridiculous, but Chris got a ton of double rolls, which I'm going to be very excited to go through when we look through his team. Active players 11.57. I mean, the only players that were missing were pretty much goblins ever. Average number of matches rate is 19. Awesome. What was it looking at? TV, average TV of 1.4 or 1,468. Really good. Treasury just sat on a ton of money. When you only have to rehire goblins, who cares? In terms of deaths, Chris obviously killed 2.67 people for every one that was lost. And actually, this is kind of interesting to me. I think it really shows how many players Chris murdered. The number of deaths Chris suffered is, not that far away from average 16%, 12.5%, whatever. But yeah, percent of his casualties dealt almost right in the nose for what it should be. Average matches 19. Again, really good defensive ratio. Relatively efficient in terms of a relatively low ratio for a number of yards passed. He just didn't have to go very far. Also, did a really good job of just marching the ball right in there. And 2 casualties for every casualty given up. But it's a orc team. This is what you'd expect. And I guess we haven't mentioned this until now. So let's do that. 81.19% of our casualties were caused by hits this season. A frog cry from the self-inflicted doom fest that was last season, where we had multiple surfing teams and a vampire team. Cool. Let's take a look at Chris's glorious team, because it's beautiful. You might have seen it in the list here, but we'll just jump right in it. The MVP is Kargath. Kargath deserves this MVP harder than pretty much any other team's MVP deserved it. Everyone else, like, I could see a debate one way or the other, but not Kargath. Kargath is like the bright, shining sun of this team. And you can kind of see that in the amount of SVP he has, right? 53. This is a pretty big number. Aside from getting, well, here, we'll look at his glorious picture in a little bit here, but 10 touchdowns. Really good. 4 passes, 7 casualties, 11 KOs. Like, this guy did everything. Just crazy amounts of damage. And that's why he's our overall league MVP as well. I mean, yeah, everybody else did pretty good, but this is like an elf number of touchdowns. It's ridiculous how many touchdowns Chris got. Yeah, just crazy. Yeah, let's look at his beautiful face, because, oh my god. Look at this. Dodge, tackle, mighty blow, frenzy. What a beast. He's so angry. Kargath, why are you so angry? I'll tell you why. Because he didn't win hard enough. Yeah. Awesome. Good job. What a piece. Holy crap. The rest of Chris' team is equally ridiculous, except for Ren 2, which we'll talk about. Block, mighty blow. Good combination for Ogrim. Ogrim actually started out hitting pretty hard and then kind of trailed off. So the mighty blow didn't really do a ton for him, which I'm really surprised about. Did KO 5 people though, so good times there. Black hand, another one of Chris's doubles. Got block and sidestep, mostly on the back of punching people right in the face, and 3 MVPs, so that's cool. Ren 2 is sad. So the difference between Ren 2 and Oscar the Second is Ren 2 didn't get anything ever. He got removed a lot, which didn't help. Like, he got murdered and then he got rehired, so that didn't help. But just nothing happened. He couldn't get a hit no matter what it is. And some of this is Chris just not wanting to hit with this piece, because he's got these much better pieces there. And Ren's a good doorstop, but still. The difference between this and Mark's player is that there's so many other 4-strength idiots on this team that it doesn't really matter if you have one that's not doing anything. For a Necro team, they're a key central piece, so yeah. Maim, block guard, excellent combination here. 3 level 3 black orcs is awesome. Like, Chris's MVPs were pretty nice in terms of that. Gromash, blitz number 1 here. Guard, tackle, mighty blow. Awesome, good combination here. And this, I mean, all Chris's blitzers were great. I mean, the blitzers are the star of any orc team, but, 5 touchdowns, 3 casualties. Awesome times there. Garrosh, mighty blow, dodge, polynon. This piece, Chris didn't pile it on very often, actually. I'm kind of surprised about that. But this piece did do damage. 6 casualties is pretty good. I mean, it's not Kargath good, but it's pretty good. Kargath we've already looked at. Tagar, block, guard, dodge, sidestep. Now, you would be thinking, boy, I'm hearing a lot of dodge and sidestep on this team. It's because Chris has so many doubles, right? This one doesn't have it. There's 1. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's 2. And here's the other one. Good old Vol'jin got blocked right away. Block, guard, grab. This troll is awesome. I got a soft spot from trolls after playing goblins, but yeah. Orc trolls just look a lot nastier. And Vol'jin work too. Only 2 MVPs. This is these level. Oh my god, what am I trying to say? This level 4 piece is built off of me misclicking and 11 casualties. Like, that's gotta feel pretty good. 22 SVP just on Crush and Bones, which kind of trailed off later in the season, but still did a lot of work with this piece. Thrall, block, tackle. It's a throw to pick up the ball and sometimes throw the ball and sometimes run in touchdowns, but mostly not. Chris did a really good job of scoring with his key pieces, aka his blitzers, which is fine. This piece passed a lot because he's got pass. Why wouldn't you? Leveled him up pretty well as well. Got up to 28 SPP, MVP, 3 touchdowns. We'll do that. So yeah, Gazlo 5. Gazlo 1 did a lot of damage and did great things. Gazlo proceeded to die every single time after that. So this piece is worthless. This piece did okay. Sidestep, diving tackle. I don't think Chris necessarily utilized diving tackle as effectively as he could have, but it went fine. Goblins do great things. Some people say don't play with goblins, you should just play with linemen, but I think goblins really add a lot to an orc team. If anything, they're great. Just great little bastards. But, I love goblins, so whatever. That about wraps us up. Let's look at one last thing, which is our statistical analysis here. So these are people that have won certain categories based on what, first place, second place, third place. Statistically, Jessup is our overall winner in terms of raw data. So these are the big numbers up here. Then Chris, and then Mark, which surprised me a little bit, but hey, Mark did a lot of work. Averages go to me by 1. Chris actually takes us over by quite a bit. In terms of average things he did the best, which, as you can see, is a lot of them. Just, doing well, hitting people, getting lucky in your level ups, these things happen. Jessup with 44. So overall, statistical winner is Chris. Jessup with coming in second there, which kind of, I think, matches up with how the game went, considering how close it was. I'm not surprised to see that basically Chris has bigger numbers, but Jessup managed to squeeze it out. And then Mark with 47, which, we were talking about how things didn't quite click for Mark, but they clicked well enough to do okay, but he wasn't ever in a winning position. He had a good season, but not a winning season. All right, wow, we've been talking for a long time. Let's do a quick trip through the Hall of Fame, shall we? Most experienced player, Glorious Dog with 64. This is the thrower, I want to say. Yeah. Famous Nathan with 59, Cheese with 56, Kargath 53, Squatch with 45, Aim of the World 40, Garrosh 40, and then some more stuff past that. But yeah, all these pieces level 4, which is cool. I think, one thing I think this season really did well for us is everybody learned to score a lot more. Everybody learned to hand out SVP pretty well. Elf teams will do that a little bit, but everyone did a good job balancing things out. Best score goes to Cheese with 13, Kargath with 10, and then Harder, Better, Faster Logger in there with 9 as well. Fair number of elves on here. Lots of elves on here. Not too surprising, I guess. Best thrower, Dog with 29 throws. Yeah, I was going to catch that. 17 with Trappist Logic here and 14 with Thrall. Nobody else really threw that much. Everybody else threw like out of necessity or because they needed to farm. So, whatever. Interceptions, Gallywix, the Goblin, and the Giving Tree, the Tree. Good job, you guys. I wish we had more. Most valuable player goes to Squatch. Claw, Mighty Blow, good combination. Claw, Block, Mighty Blow, even better combination. Piling on to is a very productive Yeti when he was functional. Vol'jin in there as well. Basically 3 big guys in here as well. Then Kargath. So close. Best runner, congratulations to Zach for taking away a best runner with Parsec. Thrall was 4 squares behind you. So I'm really impressed that he managed to hold on here. Dog right behind with 374 there as well. Yeah, pretty good. Best throw in terms of yards is Dog. Not surprising considering how many throws he has, which was 29. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good that despite having 12 fewer throws, I have this much yardage. Thrall right behind it with 166, so pretty good there. Survivor actually doesn't really mean much of anything, although I am surprised to see so many 21s on this list. Usually we have much less than that. Best killer goes to Kargath with 2 kills. Tagar gets 2 kills. Not surprised to see 2 Chris players up there. And then a bunch of 1s, so whatever. Best Sugar Cheese, who caught all the touchdowns in the world. Dog, who also caught a lot of things. And then Roger actually caught a lot of touchdowns, a lot of passes as well. So that's cool. A lot of elves on this list. Not too surprising there. Yeah, and great. Congratulations to Jessup for winning. We're going to be taking a break with BBLoBB. I'm not sure when we'll be back yet. We've got a lot of things going on for everybody in the spring here, so we're just going to be taking a break. And yeah, we'll be back in the summer. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, good season overall, though. I think it was good. I think everybody walked away pretty happy in terms of people that stuck around. Either way, cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll talk to you later.